Lonely CEO discovers amazing transformation after hearing heartwarming request from two little girls. Jack Collins walked the busy streets of Chicago, the pulse of the city echoing in his ears, yet he felt nothing. Once celebrated for his charisma and innovative spirit, he now floated through life in a fog of spreadsheets and quarterly reports. The glimmer of wealth had lost its warmth, leaving behind a chill that crept deep into his bones. Each step felt heavier than the last, and as he passed cascading foot traffic, he couldn't help but feel like a ghost in a haunted town, visible yet unseen. As he strolled past towering glass buildings that stretched towards the endless sky, he spotted a bright splash of color on the corner of Michigan Avenue. Two little girls, no older than 8 and 6, giggled as they arranged stackable cups filled with homemade lemonade at a wobbly table. Their laughter cut through the haze of cynicism that had settled in Jack's heart. Curiosity tugged at him, and he approached, captivated by their innocent energy. "Hello, sir. Would you like to buy some lemonade?" The older girl chirped, her eyes sparkling with hope. "What are you doing this for?" Jack found himself asking, touched by their earnestness. "We want to help our mom, Maria. She works so hard for us." The younger one chimed in, beaming with pride. "If we sell enough, she can take us to the park." Suddenly, Jack felt a flicker of something long buried, a connection to the very core of what he had lost through years of climbing the corporate ladder. Days turned into weeks, and he found himself stopping by their stand regularly, drawn in by the warmth of their hearts. He was introduced to Maria, whose tired smile masked 1,000 worries. Each visit felt like sunlight filtering through gray clouds, illuminating the richness of human connection he'd abandoned. Yet, as his friendship with them deepened, the stark contrast to his corporate life became impossible to ignore. They struggled for every dollar, while he moved mountains of money that, despite their weight, left him empty. One evening over a pitcher of lemonade, Maria's eyes glimmered with dreams of better days for her daughters and education, a home filled with laughter, vacations to cherish. Jack's heart twisted. How could he bear to watch a company he led decide to upend lives like theirs just for profits? But he initially convinced himself generosity was enough, a fat check to a local charity that supported families in need. As he handed it over, he met the girls' wide, twinkling eyes filled with gratitude, and it hit him money couldn't replace the bond he felt with them. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Caught in a whirlwind of compassion and corporate greed, Jack found himself facing a fateful choice. He gathered his courage, prepared to confront the board about layoffs that would affect families like Maria's. The tension was palpable, an electric current buzzing in the air. As his heart raced, he stood at the edge of a precipice. Would he stand for his new friends, risking everything for what mattered more than profits? Just as he prepared for the showdown, a call from Maria shattered his resolve. She was in trouble, and suddenly his fight became more than just for his friendship. The lives of two little girls hung in the balance. Would he finally find the courage to make a stand? Or would he retreat back into the cold comfort of wealth? Jack's heart pounded in his chest as he raced to Maria's apartment. He thought of her worried face, the way her brow furrowed as she juggled bills and responsibilities that felt crushing. The echoes of the girls' laughter faded, replaced by a sense of urgency that propelled him forward. When he reached the building, he was greeted by the familiar smell of home-cooked meals wafting through the hallways. That smell was a comfort, but today it mixed with anxiety that gnawed at him. He knocked vigorously on the door, each rap a pulse of his anxious heart. Maria opened it, surprise flitting across her face before it bent into something close to despair. "Jack!" She stepped aside, allowing him into her small living room, cluttered yet warm. The walls were adorned with artwork created by the girls' bright colors, wild swirls of imagination. I didn't expect you today. The tremor in her voice made Jack's resolve sharpen. I got your call. Are the girls okay? Maria inhaled deeply, trying to steady herself. They're fine, but her voice broke, and she gestured to a pile of envelopes on the coffee table. We got a notice from the landlord. We have 2 weeks to come up with the rent, or we'll be evicted. Jack's stomach dropped. He knew what that would mean for the girls, a disruption to everything they held dear. They would lose their home, their safety net. He couldn't bear the thought. The severity of their plight ignited a fire within him. How much do you need? He asked, willing to pull from his reserves, from his wealth. Maria shook her head, tears glistening in her eyes. It's not just the money. We can't just keep selling lemonade. I want a stable life for them. I want to be able to breathe without worrying about survival. I don't want them to grow up in a place like this. Jack felt the weight of his own life priorities crash down on him, revealing how little he truly cared for others in the pursuit of success. Then let us do something about it together, he said, his voice steadier now. You shouldn't have to do this alone. I'll help you. Confusion clouded Maria's expression. How? You're a CEO. What can you do? There it was, the crux of it all. Jack realized his power could extend beyond the boardroom. He could not only help them with immediate financial relief but also offer his influence. I'll throw a community fair. We'll raise money, and we'll draw people in. We can get donations, local businesses to pitch in. Her eyebrows shot up in surprise. You'd really do that? Of course, he replied, a new purpose igniting in his chest. But more than that, I want to help you build something sustainable, an opportunity that lasts. The glimmer of hope in Maria's eyes tugged at Jack's heartstrings. Maybe this was his chance to find a deeper meaning in his life. For the first time, he envisioned a world where business could coexist with compassion, where profits could build community instead of dismantling it. They spent the evening brainstorming, excitement bubbling between them. Ideas bounced off the walls, mingling with laughter, Jack laughing at the girls' antics, Maria's laughter spilling over into joy. It felt like the birth of something monumental. As the weight of their problems loomed large, they held on to this fragile hope. But deep down, Jack knew that organizing the fair wouldn't be simple. There would be obstacles, possibly even pushback from those who clung to old-fashioned corporate norms. Jack looked up from the diagrams they sketched out together. Whatever happens, we'll face it together. We owe it to you and those girls. But as he rocked back on his heels, a thought struck him harder than any financial report he'd faced. What if those very corporate values he was preparing to challenge wouldn't go down without a fight? Would he risk everything, even the very job that provided the financial safety net for his own life? The door had opened wide, the dichotomy of his worlds clashing more violently than ever. Would he have the power to make true change, not just for Maria and her daughters, but for the many families at the mercy of corporate indifference? Jack took a deep breath. What lay ahead was uncertain, but he had taken the first step into something new. And in that moment, he vowed to fight for more than just financial success. He would fight for the heart of community itself. As the duo mapped their plans under the dim light of the single bulb, something suddenly knocked at the door. A loud, urgent pounding followed. Jack's heart sank again, anticipation curdled into dread. What now? Would the storm ahead be too much for them to bear? Jack's instincts kicked in, and he exchanged a worried glance with Maria. The pounding grew more insistent, like an ominous drumbeat synchronizing with his rising anxiety. He stepped toward the door, compelled yet hesitant. Stay here, he murmured, more to reassure himself than her. Maria nodded, her face etched with apprehension. Jack reluctantly reached for the doorknob. With a swift motion, he flung the door open, revealing a young man with a wild look in his eyes, a neighbor from down the hall. Jack! You need to come with me. It's the girls. Panic shot through Jack. What happened? Are they okay? Just come on. the neighbor urged, grabbing Jack's arm and pulling him down the stairwell before he could respond. He could hear Maria's voice fading behind him, growing terrified. What about Maria? What about the fair? The urgency of the situation drowned out thoughts of their plans. They burst out of the building, and as Jack surveyed the street, his breath caught. The girls were standing there, just outside the playground, surrounded by kids who had all gathered around them, whispering and giggling. What was going on? Relief washed over him. They looked fine, but there was something strange about the way they were huddled together. As he approached, Jack noticed a large cardboard sign propped against a tree. In shaky letters the girls had written, "Lemonade for Hope." His heart swelled. They had taken it upon themselves to set up another lemonade stand, trying to help their mother, even after Maria had told them not to worry about it. Maria emerged from the doorway, her brow furrowed with confusion as she joined Jack's side. What did they do? The neighbor, still jittery, shrugged. I don't know, but they said they wanted to make money for their home. Jack knelt down next to the girls. Why did you set this up? His voice was thick with emotion. The older girl, Emma, looked up at him with big, hopeful eyes. We wanted to help Mommy. She said we had to save our home, and we thought if we made more lemonade, it would help. Yes. And we can ask for donations too. Chimed in Lily, her little hands clutching a crumpled dollar bill that had clearly been saved for their ice cream treat. Jack's heart ached for their innocence, their desire to make a difference in their own way. You two are so brave, he said, fighting back tears. But it's not just about lemonade. There is so much more we can do together. Maria knelt beside him, her eyes wide. Girls, I appreciate this so much, but we're going to make a bigger plan. Remember the fair we talked about? It's time to bring it to life. With a chorus of giggles, the girls nodded, excitement buzzing in the air. They were so ready to jump into this together. Jack felt the weight of his earlier fears lightening. Could this truly be a turning point? But just as he began to feel hope stirring, the same neighbor's frantic voice cut through the moment. Jack! I heard that the landlord is already wanting to shut down the fair. You need to act now before the meeting next week. A jolt of ice coursed through Jack. How had it escalated so quickly? The very fate of their plans hung by a thread as the vibrant energy of hope threatened to shatter. Could he really take on their fight? Now it wasn't just about the community fair, it was a race against time to keep a home safe. What would he risk, not just for Maria and the girls, but for every soul entangled in this corporate chokehold? With determination reigniting within him, Jack stood tall. We won't back down. We'll turn this around and show them what family really means. He took another deep breath, reality crashing through him like a wave. Could he be the leader they needed when it mattered most? The little girls, with their innocent dreams held tight, looked up at him for guidance. Did he have the strength to protect them, to lead both the fair and their future? As they all crowded around the sign, Jack's heart raced anew, his past colliding perfectly with his present. Considering what lay ahead, would they find the way to win this fight against uncertainty? Time was ticking. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the playground. Jack gathered the girls and Maria in close, his previous uncertainty morphing into a firm resolve. All right, team, he said, glancing at each of their eager faces. What if we turn this lemonade stand into something bigger? Emma's eyes sparkled with curiosity. Like a fair? She asked, her voice bright with hope. Exactly. Maria chimed in, excitement bubbling in her chest. We'll not only raise money from the lemonade but also bring everyone together. It will show our community that we can stand strong. Jack nodded, feeding off their enthusiasm. This isn't just about saving our home. It's about bringing everyone together, sharing joy, and showing our landlord that we won't let them walk all over us. Lily's tiny fist pumped into the air. Yes. We can have games and food and music. Her enthusiasm spilled over into a bubbly laugh that was contagious. The knot in Jack's stomach started to loosen. Maybe, just maybe, this could work. Let us think about what we need, Maria continued, her mind whirring with ideas. We'll talk to local businesses, see if we can get donations or support. Maybe even some volunteers. What about a poster? Emma suggested, already scrambling for paper and crayons, her little mind racing with possibilities. We could tell everyone about it, make it colorful. Jack watched as the girls began to brainstorm, their voices swirling together in a beautiful symphony of hope and determination. He felt a warmth in his chest that had been absent for far too long. For the first time in weeks, he felt like he wasn't alone in this battle. Just as they dove headfirst into planning, a chill wind swept through the playground. Jack raised his head to see their neighbor anxiously pacing. We need to get the word out quickly. The landlord doesn't wait. He'll make his decision soon, he said, glancing nervously back at Jack. Then let us not waste a second. Jack responded. Today we plan, tomorrow we act. They rushed through their ideas: games, food stands, music from local performers, and a community gathering that could draw in families from all over. The lemonade stand grew from a simple idea into a full-fledged event, fear melting into determination. As they worked together, the bond between them tightened. Jack felt a comforting wave of gratitude wash over him. The girls had ignited a passion within him he thought had died long ago. With each idea shared and each laugh echoed, he felt the weight of hopelessness give way to something greater, purpose. Yet just as excitement surged, so did reality. The landlord's presence loomed like a dark cloud. Jack's heart quickened once more as it dawned on him their adversary was watching and waiting. Okay, when we get the fair up and running, we need to be ready for whatever he throws at us, he cautioned, his voice steady yet laced with urgency. But doubt crept back in. Could they really pull this off? Could they truly fight against the uncertainty that threatened their very existence? Looking at the girls, Jack felt his spirit lift. They were unwavering in their hope, each tiny hand reaching for the sky, and it inspired him to push forward. It wasn't just about them anymore, it was about the entire community. All right, my brave team, he said, determination etched into his brow, let us finalize our plan by sundown. We'll show our landlord just how strong we can be. As they clapped and cheered, a thought flickered in Jack's mind. What if they pulled it off? What if, amidst the chaos they faced, they could create a day filled with joy? And then he froze for a moment, grappling with a frightening reality. If they failed, what would that mean for their home, and for every family relying on this fair? A shadow of doubt flickered across his heart. But then he glanced at Emma and Lily, their excitement palpable. Maybe, just maybe, this would turn into the fight of their lives. Little did he know, the night would hold more than just plans. It would unveil secrets that would shake the very foundation of their community. As the sun finally sank beneath the horizon, leaving a blanket of twilight over the playground, Jack felt a mingling of apprehension and hope. The girls buzzed around him, armed with crayons and paper, their laughter echoing in the cool evening air. Each idea they tossed into the mix seemed to brighten the dimming light, and with every sketch Emma created, Jack's doubts felt a little lighter. Still, worry gnawed at him, like shadows creeping in at dusk. Okay, we need to focus, he said, trying to rein in the energy. What's our theme going to be? We should make it memorable. Maria, always the thinker, paused mid-sketch. How about a summer carnival? Everyone loves carnivals. It can have colorful decorations, fun games, and maybe even a prize for the best lemonade. Jack caught the glimmer of excitement in her eyes. That sounds great. We can make it fun. Let us make sure we reach out to everyone in the neighborhood. As they bounced ideas off one another, cotton candy, face painting, a talent show, Jack felt like they were climbing a mountain but stepping over rocks instead of stumbling. But just as they were lost in their plans, a sad realization hit him. We need to figure out how we'll pay for all of this. We don't have any money for supplies. The atmosphere shifted, and Jack watched as the girls exchanged glances, their smiles fading momentarily. He felt his heart sink a little. He couldn't let them down. "It's okay." Emma spoke up, her small face lighting up again. "What if we start with the lemonade stand? We sell that, and we can ask people to bring anything they can. You know, donations. Just a few things here and there. A bit like potluck?" Maria asked, looking inspired again. "Exactly." Jack agreed, feeling a wave of collective determination surge through the group. "Okay, so we'll need to draw up a list of supplies we need, what games we want, and who will ask for help," Lily exclaimed, bouncing slightly on her toes. As they brainstormed, a sense of warmth enveloped Jack. They weren't just a group of individuals. They were a team, united in this mission to save their homes and playground. He believed that together, no matter how small, their voices and efforts could resonate strong enough to challenge the doubts looming over them. The girls dove into their respective tasks, filled with vibrant energy, and Jack reveled in their enthusiasm. But as he took a moment's pause, that startling sense of urgency returned. He could almost feel the landlord's eyes on them, cold and calculating. "Listen, team," Jack said, lowering his voice to keep the weight of his words from cresting the excitement. "We need to keep this under wraps until it's ready. We don't want our landlord to sabotage us." They nodded in agreement, though their faces still sparked with joy. Later, as they gathered their supplies and pieced together their plans, Jack felt something stirring deep within him, an ember of hope. They would shine bright and pave the way for not only their homes but all the other families affected. Perhaps, amid the despair, there was a flicker of change on the horizon. But even as anticipation swelled within him, Jack couldn't shake the worry. What if their landlord had tricks of his own? What if their fare couldn't tilt the scales in their favor? As the night cloaked the playground in darkness, a twinkle of excitement erupted in Jack's chest. Could the carnival truly bring their community together? Just then, a flurry of laughter interrupted his thoughts. He turned to see Emma, Lily, and Maria huddled, and immediate curiosity swelled within him. Whatever they were concocting must be something special. As he approached, they looked up with grins that stretched from ear to ear, and Jack felt a childlike thrill. "What is it? What is going on?" he asked. "Wait until you see," Lily chirped, presenting a colorful poster with bold letters. Just one look at it and Jack's breath caught in his throat. "Summer Carnival, a day of joy for our community together will stand against the landlord." The weight of its declaration settled heavily on him. Underneath the neon markers, this day would challenge all they faced. With the event drawing closer, would their rallying cry resonate, or would the landlord strike before they had a chance? As he took in the poster, uncertainty loomed large. In their fight against despair, would hope be their greatest ally, or could it potentially shatter? The vibrant colors on the poster seemed to pulse under the dim light. Jack's heart raced as he stared at the bold letters proclaiming their mission. The gravity of what they were trying to accomplish was real. Could they really make an impact? Emma's voice broke his reverie. "What do you think, Jack?" "Isn't it awesome?" "It is," he said, forcing a smile. "But we need to stay focused. We can't let excitement lead us astray." The girls nodded, their enthusiasm barely contained. Jack felt a flicker of hope ignite again. Together, they could do this. They just had to keep everything on track. As the group spread out to tackle their tasks, Jack took a moment to think. They needed to reach the community, but how? Suddenly, an idea bloomed in his mind. He rushed toward the girls. "What if we create mini flyers? We can hand them out at the local grocery store. Everyone stops there. It'll be perfect." "Great idea!" Maria exclaimed, her eyes shining with delight. "We can draw pictures on them. And write down what we need," Emma added excitedly. Lily raised her hands. "We can even make a big sign to hang at the park when it's closer to the event." Something flashy to get their attention. Jack couldn't suppress his grin. You guys are amazing. Let us meet up again tomorrow and start putting everything together. As they all dispersed, Jack lingered a bit longer, watching the girls move around the playground. Their laughter bounced off the swings and slides, and for a fleeting moment, he allowed himself to imagine how wonderful the carnival could be. A day filled with joy, laughter, and a strong sense of community. But then, like a dark cloud creeping over a sunny day, the landlord's looming presence returned to his thoughts. Would he sit back and let them succeed? His mind ran wild with possibilities. The landlord could show up, ready to shut them down, and with a single word, extinguish the flicker of hope that had ignited in him. That night, Jack lay in bed, turning over plans and worries in his mind. He wanted to be brave for the girls, to show them that their efforts mattered. But doubt nagged at him. The carnival was more than a fun day, it was a statement, a way of fighting back against their landlord and reclaiming their home. Days passed, and soon it was time to hand out the flyers. Jack gathered the girls at the grocery store, where the bright lights contrasted with the hazy gloom of his anxiety. Remember, every person we reach is one more supporter, he encouraged, as they displayed their mini flyers like talented artists showing off their work. As they ventured into the aisles, Jack's heart pounded with each person they approached. Some smiled and accepted the flyers, while others ignored them. A knot twisted in his stomach as he watched one shopper frown and toss the flyer aside. Maybe this won't work, he whispered to himself, but the girls were undeterred. They laughed and waved, their spirit unbreakable. Someone tapped him on the shoulder, causing Jack to jump. It was a teenager named Jake, who frequented the park. "What is this? A carnival?" he asked, glancing at the colorful flyer. "Sounds like fun. Can I help?" "Of course," Jack said, relief flooding through him. "We'd love the help." As the days turned into a blurred flurry of preparations, the community slowly began to respond. Families offered up donations, and local businesses pitched in with resources. It felt like a collective heartbeat, pulsating, alive, and determined. But as the carnival day approached, Jack noticed the landlord lurking nearby, eyeing them with an unpleasant gaze that sent a shiver down his spine. Would he try to sabotage their efforts? With everything on the line, Jack felt the pressure amplifying. Would their community rise up against the landlord, or would he pull the rug from under their feet? The countdown to the carnival was ticking. Jack could feel his heart racing with each moment closer to the day. Those worries were relentless, whispering to him that everything they worked for could collapse. The question hung in the air like a storm cloud: were they strong enough to face the worst together? Tomorrow would be the turning point. Would joy and laughter fill the playground, or would they find themselves facing despair once more? The sun rose brightly on the day of the carnival, casting a warm golden glow across the park. Jack stood at the entrance, nervously adjusting the small sign they had hand-painted the night before. It read, "Welcome to the Community Carnival." The colors seemed to dance in the sunlight, and for a fleeting moment, hope surged within him. Nearby, the sounds of laughter filled the air as familiar faces began to trickle into the park. Emma, Maria, and Lily were already setting up their booth, brimming with excitement as they arranged colorful games and prizes. Jack watched them, their joyful chatter echoing, and it felt like a promise of something extraordinary. "Jack!" Emma called, waving him over. "Look at our game. We made it ourselves." She pointed to a ring toss station, hand-painted and filled with laughter. "It's fantastic," Jack said, a genuine smile breaking through his nervousness. "You all have done an amazing job. This is going to be great." As the crowd grew, Jack's initial fears began to fade, replaced by a sense of belonging. Neighbors exchanged warm greetings, and children darted after balloons like vibrant butterflies. The park, once a place overshadowed by uncertainty, transformed into a vibrant hub of laughter and community spirit. Yet, amidst the joy, Jack sensed the weight of the landlord's looming threat. A familiar figure settled under a nearby tree, arms crossed, watching the carnival unfold with an ice-cold glare. Jack's stomach dropped. Would he ruin their day? Jack! Jake pulled him from his thoughts. You won't believe who's here. He gestured excitedly towards a group of parents gathering near one of the games. They're bringing their kids. And look, more are coming. Jack's heart raced for a different reason now. With a sharp inhale, he stepped back to survey the scene. Could they actually pull this off? Suddenly, Maria bounded over, her eyes shining. Jack, look! Someone donated a big box of goodies for the raffle. She pointed to a colorful display that had arisen beside their booth. This is amazing! Jack exclaimed, his spirits lifting. Every little bit helps. Let us spread the word. They quickly spread through the park, inviting families to join in the fun. The air was electric with excitement. Jack felt the energy hum, the anxiety loosening its grip. Yet, every glance toward the landlord's watchful eyes reminded him that their victory could easily be stolen away. But then, out of nowhere, a little girl approached Jack, clutching a small stack of handmade cards. Excuse me, sir, she said, her voice soft but steady, I want to help. Can we sell these to raise more money? Jack crouched down to her level, his heart warming at the sight of her crinkled brows and earnest expression. You made these? She nodded, her determination palpable. Yes. My mom says it's important to help each other. Jack's eyes widened. You're absolutely right. Let us sell them at our booth. As she glided away, Jack felt an unexpected surge of hope. The community was coming together, every small gesture, every laugh shared, was a powerful statement against the landlord's looming presence. As noon approached, the park was alive with families enjoying the games, food, and laughter. Jack watched the hills of the park filled with joy. Could today be the turning point they needed? Would the love and fun overpower the darkness that loomed? The answer seemed just out of reach. The landlord stepped forward, a menacing glare piercing the atmosphere like a dagger. Jack's breath caught in his throat. What would happen if he decided to ruin it all? With the sun casting long shadows, the moment of truth was drawing near. Would courage spark from the heart of the community, illuminating the path forward? Jack felt the mounting tension, each heartbeat echoing with uncertainty. Was this the end of their dream, or was it just the beginning of a true transformation? The crowd buzzed with laughter and excitement as Jack's heart pounded in an entirely new rhythm. People were gathered, the air thick with the scent of popcorn and cotton candy. But every time Jack's gaze landed on the landlord, it was like a bucket of ice water was dumped over his enthusiasm. That glare was a constant reminder of the threat looming over everything they had worked for. Jack shifted his focus back to the hustle and bustle around him. Families were winning prizes, children were running with their faces painted like superheroes, and the little girl he had spoken to earlier was proudly showing off her handmade cards at their booth. She was surrounded by other children, each one eager to buy a card with their allowance, their laughter chiming like wind chimes in the breeze. But just as joy reached a crescendo, Jack spotted the landlord making his way through the throng of people, heading straight for their booth. Panic surged, and a lump formed in Jack's throat. What would this man do? Would he bark orders? Demand they pack up and leave? The enthusiastic laughter of children felt like a fragile bubble, ready to burst. Stay calm, he whispered to himself as he forced a smile for the growing crowd at the booth. Just keep enjoying the day. Hey, Jack, Emma shouted as she raced back over, her cheeks flushed with excitement. The ring toss is a hit. We might run out of prizes. Her joy was infectious, and Jack's heart fluttered despite the tension rising within him. Perhaps, no matter what, they had made a difference today. A voice broke through the cheerful chaos. Jack, you need to see this. Jake stepped closer, urgency in his tone. Jack followed him, weaving through families, until they reached a corner of the park where a local news team had set up. Mr. Martin, the reporter said, her camera guy adjusting the lens. What is happening here today? It looks beautiful. Jack could hardly breathe. They were drawing attention. Good attention. We're having a community carnival to raise funds for the park, he said, suddenly realizing the weight of their cause. We're fighting to keep this space for everyone. As she continued to ask him questions, Jack could feel the eyes of the crowd on him, applause building. The landlord lingered on the edge of the gathering, face twist in disbelief. Watching it all unfold, Jack felt a burgeoning pride swell within him. Suddenly, the little girl who had offered her cards dashed past, the wind from her movement drawing his attention. She tugged at the reporter's shirt. Miss, you have to know. Everyone's helping. We can save our park together. Her innocence and conviction made the reporter's heart melt. The camera turned to focus on her wide-eyed enthusiasm, capturing a moment that was pure and untainted. He's right, the little girl insisted, looking earnestly into the lens. It's super-duper important. In that instant, the crowd erupted in applause, cheering in support of the children and their newfound energy. Jack felt hope crackling in the air like electricity. But then, the landlord stepped forward, his voice cutting through the cheer. This is nonsense. This park isn't yours to save. The mood shifted like a storm cloud rolling in. Was this the breaking point? Could that little girl's heartfelt plea bring the spark back to the people? Jack took a deep breath, his heart in his throat. No, it's ours. Every toy, every game, it comes from us all. Jack shouted, every ounce of courage pushing him forward. As the crowd's energy shifted, and people rallied around Jack, a wave of power surged through the air. The landlord's presence, once so fearsome, started to feel less significant. But just when Jack thought they might band together and push back, he watched as the landlord stepped further into the crowd, a defiant sneer on his face. With the stakes escalating, Jack knew they hadn't seen the last of him. Would the community stand united in their moment of vulnerability? Would they rally against the storm he was about to unleash? The crowd shifted, murmurs rippling like waves as the landlord's presence loomed large. Jack could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him, like a heavy cloud about to burst open. He glanced at Emma, her eyes wide and hopeful. She had rallied the kids, and they had each other's backs. But could that be enough against someone who seemed intent on shattering their dreams? The landlord cleared his throat, cutting through the noise. You think you can save this park with a carnival? His voice dripped with scorn. It's just a temporary distraction. You'll fail. Anger flared inside Jack. This isn't just a carnival. This is our community. He shouted, pulling the crowd's focus back, his heart racing. Look around. Everyone is here for a reason. We believe in this place. His words hung in the air, the silence stretching between Jack and the landlord. Then, from the back, a parent stepped forward, strong and resolute. We believe in each other, and that's what matters. We won't let you take this from us. Cheers erupted, and a ripple of courage traveled through the crowd. Jack felt the warmth radiate around him, a persuasive force filled with promise. But the landlord wasn't backing down. You are wasting your time. This park will belong to someone who values professionalism, not to handfuls of kids playing games. The laughter began to fade, doubt creeping in. Jack saw a flicker of uncertainty in the faces around him. His heart sank a little. Had they come this far only to be pushed back down? Remember why we're here, Jack said, raising his voice to regain control. These kids, he nodded toward the booth where the little girl still brandished her cards, her face aglow with passion. What they have created here is worth more than money. It's worth love, laughter, and memories. The crowd began to cheer again, reigniting the energy that had flickered out moments before. Jack felt hope flooding back, lifting him higher. We're not just fighting for a park. We're fighting for our community, for our home. We'll show you what we can do when we stand together. Applause swelled, the people rallying with voices and hearts intertwined. For a moment, it felt unstoppable. But just then, Jack caught sight of the landlord again, his expression darkening, calculating. Jack's stomach twisted. What would he do next? Would he retaliate? Let us take this to the next level, the landlord sneered, his voice laced with venom. I'll show you what happens when you try to take something that doesn't belong to you. And just like that, the air turned electric. The challenge hung between them, tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Jack knew this was escalating. This was not just a battle for a park anymore, this was a battle for their dignity. Everyone, listen. He called, urgency igniting his voice. We need to come together, not just for today, but for every day after. We can turn this into something bigger. The crowd was on the brink. Jack could feel the momentum swirling like a tornado. Each person's spirit flickered with anticipation and defiance. But as Jack looked back at his friends, and especially at the little girl whose innocence sparked their cause, he realized he needed a plan, a strategy that would counter whatever the landlord had in mind. Would the community respond to his call? And more importantly, would they be able to hold on to what truly mattered amid the clash that was about to unfold? The carnival had turned into something magical. Joyful shouts filled the air, families converging from every corner to partake in the fun. The colorful festival, adorned with hand-painted booths and lively games, was a beacon of unity. But as the sun blazed high above, the landlord remained a dark shadow on the brink of the celebration. Jack stood at the heart of it all, surrounded by laughter and little ones darting around, their eyes sparkling with excitement. Yet, the stillness of unease hung heavy in his chest. He couldn't ignore the looming threat. The landlord stood not far off, arms crossed, surveying the carnival with an expression that bordered on malicious glee. Listen up! Jack shouted, gathering the children and their parents, his voice rising above the chatter. Today is about more than just fun and games. It's about standing united and showing what this community means. Together, we're not just saving a park, we're saving our home. The crowd cheered, the children's laughter ringing out like music. He felt a surge of purpose, yet as he scanned the eager faces, he sensed the uncertainty lingering. They needed a plan, a final push that would make their intent crystal clear. Let us show everyone what we've built together. He continued. Tonight, we'll host a rally. I want everyone's stories, their hopes, all of it. We're bringing the heart of this community into the light. As heads nodded and excitement surged, Jack felt the fire within him ignite. They could turn this carnival into their strength, amplifying their voices in a way the landlord couldn't ignore. The sun dipped low, draping the carnival in a warm glow. Children darted from one booth to another, laughter spilling into the evening air. Emma and Lily rushed up to Jack, grinning widely, their smiles bright. Guess what? Emma chirped. We can have a contest for the best lemonade recipe during the rally. Everyone can compete. That's a great idea, Jack beamed. More involvement will showcase just how much this matters to all of us. Maria joined them, her eyes shining with pride. I've been talking to local vendors. We can have food stands that reflect our culture. It'll be a celebration of who we are. As they worked, the vibrant spirit of the carnival took hold. People came together, laughter echoing like a melody that chased away doubts. Jack felt the community solidifying around them, forming an unbreakable bond. But as darkness fell, anxiety crept back in, gnawing at Jack's core. What would the landlord do as they prepared? He had seen enough to realize that all he cared about was profit and power. Would his threats escalate as they gathered strength? The night of the rally arrived, and the park was filled to the brim with families, children, and local supporters. Jack stood at the makeshift stage, heart pounding as he looked out at the crowd glowing in the soft light of string lights draped overhead. He raised his voice above the murmurs, his breath slightly shaky yet resolute. Thank you for being here tonight. Together, we've shown what this community truly means. We're here for each other, to uplift one another in solidarity. This is not just a fight for a park but for every person in this neighborhood, fighting for safe homes and spaces for our kids. Cheers erupted, a wave of applause washing over him. He scanned the crowd again, faces lit with hope, determination and the promise of change. Just then, the landlord stepped out from the shadows, a scowl etched on his features. "This is absurd," he shouted, his voice cold and sharp. "You think this carnival changes anything? Pathetic." Jack felt his heartbeat thunder beneath his skin. He needed to stay grounded. "Let me remind you," Jack shouted back, "this community is not here to cower. We're here to rise, to protect our home. Every story shared tonight is a testament to our resolve." The crowd roared, and Jack found his fears dissipating with every cheer around him. This was their moment. Families began to share their stories, the vulnerability weaving a tapestry of humanity. Each voice reinforced the belief that they belonged, that they would fight to keep what mattered most to them. But then the landlord sneered, stepping forward as if calculating his next move. "You're wasting time. I'm filing for eviction, there's nothing you can do to stop me." Silence fell, tension rising like a tide. Jack's stomach twisted. To threaten eviction at such a heartening moment felt like a slap in the face. But he refused to be rattled. "Do you really think threats will work?" Jack's voice sliced through the stillness, a fierce glint in his eyes. "This community doesn't back down. We're here to protect one another, not just our park, but our dignity." As the crowd erupted once more, the landlord shifted uncomfortably. Jack felt a wave of courage ripple through him, a shift that he knew the landlord could feel too. With each story shared, their resolve solidified, fortified by a strength that grew more formidable. In that crucial moment, Jack faced the landlord directly. "You see us as a nuisance, but to us, this is our lifeblood. And we won't be silenced. The community you underestimate will rise up against any efforts to take away what we've built together." The crowd roared in approval, the air electrifying with solidarity. The landlord faltered, the smug veneer cracking as the realization dawned, they were united. Jack's heart raced, and as bonds were forged in that intense rally, he realized that this fight was about more than just a park. It was about resilience, love, and the unwavering spirit of every person who dared to gather there. And as Emma, Lily, and Maria stood beside him, their faces radiating pride and fire, he felt the power of what they had ignited together. In that moment, they stood not just for a park or a home but for something far larger, a community united by compassion and strength. They were becoming an unstoppable force, and Jack knew that victory, whatever that meant, was within their reach. The landlord might have come to dismantle their joy, but they would stand together, no matter what lay ahead. "Let us rise together, as one," Jack shouted, and a chorus of voices responding to him echoed through the night, fortifying their cause as the stars shone down, brightening the path forward. This was their moment, not the landlord's fear or greed. It was an awakening that told them of the love and community they had fostered and chosen to protect. And as Jack stood there, every ounce of fear vanished, leaving behind pure determination, joy, and a future worth fighting for. Now it was time to act, to rise, and to transform their dream into reality. So, what are you waiting for? This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to our channel so you won't miss our next exclusive stories. Leave a like right now to feed the algorithm, every click matters. We want to hear from you, so comment below with your reaction and feelings about this inspiring ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. It's time to spread the message.